wife, how you and Meadows down in Flanders. Stella, how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Kilstrand.
Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of Your Internet Friends, featuring special guest, Low Energy Vids. Today we have Taffy, Irish, and Nightmare, and we're gonna have some low energy discussions, or whatever.
It'll be the first discussion about the Irish and English that doesn't involve screamings and death threats.
Oh, shit,
I mean,
so
who knows?
looking
We
forward
might
to
get there.
Low energy
that. Yeah,
Vids.
we might do it on something else.
Yeah, Low Energy Vids, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
No, but I gotta do it anyway because I gotta be polite. Hi everyone, my name's Low Energy Videos, but not by birth. That's a long story. The important thing is I do YouTube stuff and I game mostly, but I also do travel and occasionally just live streaming from the camera. And you can find me in wherever good neckbeards may pop their heads.
Wonderful.
So basically, in the SJW community or the anti-SJW community.
No, because I'm a big fan of Vosh. But a few years prior,
Filler Vosh friend.
yeah.
I actually on the topic of Vosh, I saw something very sketch from him on Twitter today.
Oh, what did he post?
I don't follow Vosh on Twitter, but I think it was a Count Dankula retweeted something that Vosh tweeted, and Count Dankula retweeting Vosh and it not being a quote tweet where he was arguing with them is usually like very unusual, because Dank hates him and he hates Dank. Let me scroll back and see if I can find it.
Thanks a fucking
Jesus.
pussy. I don't usually follow Twitter stuff like this because it stresses me.
No, I'm a deviant. My Twitter is 90% not safe for work stuff anyway.
Yeah,
but
that's the only thing it's good
so
for.
He's a number one simp in Twitter. Any lads, you pay your kitty cocky.
No. It was it was Vosh talking about the age of consent. It just sounded real. How you say?
I kind of know this.
I'll
whole,
send you. I can send the screenshot.
Thing.
I can send the screenshot if you want to see it.
Okay, wait. What's the topic? What did they say about it?
Okay, I'll send it to you. I'm sending it to you. Low energy video. I'm gonna send it to you now, Benny.
Right. Let's see.
Oh god, it's been.
Let's see, Vosh. The way I see it, the age of consent. Remember to quote me on this, because this isn't Vosh. This is Low Energy Video.
Yeah, this is Vosh.
Yeah. The age of consent exists out of respect for the numerous powers of older people.
These
Younger people
imbalances are redressed throughout the advent of socialism. The age of consent should therefore be lowered.
So basically, the age of consent, for example, in the UK is 16, and I know in the Republic it's 17, which was
only found that out recently.
Which was always a weird thing, because I remember knowing a guy who lived in where did he live? He lived like near Muff in Donegal, which is just over the border from Derry. But he had a girlfriend in Derry, and they were both 16. Or no, she was 17, he was 16. So they were fucking in Derry, and then he ended up breaking up with her because he thought, oh no, what we're doing isn't legal. I'm like, it's legal where you're doing it.
As if you care at that age. Let's be honest.
No,
here. You managed to find someone.
If he was 15 and she was 16, they would care.
I get.
Well,
yeah.
Do you honestly think you're that smart when you're 15 or 16? You've already gone all the way through with it. Afterwards, you went, "Oh wait, no, we should have checked our IDs."
I think he just used it as an excuse to break up with her. But like,
yeah,
I was
well,
saying to him, I was just like, Josh, you've already stuck your dick in this girl. You've already technically committed the crime.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm not saying like go out there and go crazy, but nothing's gonna stop a bunch of horny teenagers from rubbing their parts up against each other in very awkward ways. But the age is still there for a reason. You know?
As they say in Derry,
I sort of get what
buck all around you.
Yeah, I sort of get what Vosh is trying to say in the idea that like, oh, there's a lot of like as we become more sexually aware and developed, and we have like these within our society like better standards for like non-abuse and stuff like that, maybe there'll be like ways to redress the issues that currently exist with like power imbalances in relationships, because people will be more more aware. But like still though, kids will always be,
I think the age of
to an
consent
extent,
is pretty much where it should be.
yeah, kids will always be predictably immature and like, you know, just awkward and hormonal to an extent.
Can I bring up a point that Low Energy Vids? There is a way that you can try to stop them, but chastity belts have never worked in the past, so why would they work now?
If anything, they can be used as a sex aid. So
that's true.
It completely defeats the purpose.
Yeah, that's true.
Cheers that you bravely let us hear when our leaders of 16 were executed.
So, Taffy told me something interesting, Low Energy Vids, and you can confirm nor deny this. Taffy told me that you're an ex-blue shirt. Is that true?
First of all, he's the one who put the term blue shirt. We did not use that term, although we did claim.
But it's that's what I read into Irish fascism. I know we don't use it.
Yeah.
I would
we didn't show up in blue shirts or anything like that. Although one of our major parties.
I'm an American. So.
Also, why didn't you just say what it is? I'm a former ex-Nazi, because that we weren't ashamed of it back then.
Really?
I'm definitely ashamed of it now.
You were part of the ACA. Okay, so if you look at blue shirts in Ireland, it says the ACA, also known later the National Guard, then Young Ireland, then the League.
No. That's when that's all like officially ended. By the way, check out the history of the end of that organization. That's when like
isn't that not the cross they have on their Is that not the St. Patrick's flag that they have as their flag?
Yeah, they always tried to add as much into it. It's like the GAA also has a lot of ties to that organization. Wow. But one of the more interesting things I've ever found about that was where's Blue Shirts Ireland? One of the Irish major parties is actually like pseudo related to it.
Yeah, I was going to say because
was it Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil?
I thought it was Fine Gael.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, Fine Gael, and I was going to say, there's people on Twitter have a part. It's like a bit like Hugo Boss and their SS uniform. Fine Gael doesn't really like being reminded on Twitter of they link to a form of fascism.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to annoy Fine Gael, just casually mention the blue shirt.
Imagine we were like LARPers of these fuckers. Just think of it like that.
So how did you get from that to where you are like currently on the political scale?
Yeah, how'd you get
radicalized? This was when I was 16 and I'm like 32, so a lot has happened in between.
Growing up, got it. You grew up.
So how'd you get introduced to the blue shirts or this Nazi group?
All right, let's just call it the IMP for now. That's not what we called ourselves. Let's call that N. Yeah, that's not how I remember it. You see, the thing is, just imagine a bunch of LARPers who try too much. Okay, so basically the gist was, I was 16 years old, I was dealing with a lot of personal problems, very angry at the world, lashing out, and I loved history. Still absolutely love history. Now, anyone who can tell you what early 2000s and late 90s History Channel was all about, a lot of World War II. So I'd watch a lot of that stuff, and I would also read a lot of history stuff. I'd play a lot of strategy games with history, especially World War II, and I kind of latched onto it. So I started to look more and more into these sort of like what happened to the modern Nazi organizations, and I started learning stuff. I started showing up on Sturmfront, for example. I started to talk to people, and I found out that there was a small group in where I lived that met. And I was like, okay, I want to check this out because I wanted to feel like I was a part of an organization. I showed up there and it was a bunch of sad people, some young, mostly middle-aged, all hating brown people and blacks and gays and the Jews. No mention really towards the English, except almost as a sort of, it's a shame that they're being controlled by the Jews over there.
That level of conspiracy theory.
Wow.
Okay,
no white people can actually be bad. They're just controlled by the evil Jews. That's the
Jews and the Slavs. And I didn't bother to mention my dad was.
I'm sorry. How can Irish people hate the Slavs? The Polish make up like 25% of our population now.
And they make about 80% of our workforce.
But the Polish are the best thing to happen to Ireland since the potato was getting good again.
And let's be honest, they're also the UK too. They've helped build modern day Britain and Ireland.
They did.
They work so hard.
They did to Britain and Ireland.
Shout out
Ireland,
to the Slavs who didn't deserve what happened.
They did. Yeah, the Polish did for the British Isles and the Republic what the Irish and African Americans did for America. They went over there, built it, and moved in.
At least we treat ours a little bit better, though.
So,
yeah.
I don't know about Irish history or anything like that, but at least for us Americans, like, we get pretty big spiel about the Nazis are bad type of things, you know. So like, why for you didn't it, like, weren't you getting any red flags where it's like, oh, these people are a bunch of filthy fucking racists, this is no-no-ville, you know?
It might come from the fact that we were neutral during World War II.
No, I always thought that that was just a case of Eamon de Valera being a spineless asshole, and I still believe that.
De Valera being a spineless asshole? Oh, what an unheard of thing.
Yeah, but what about for you personally? Why didn't you get these people are a bunch of fascist racists?
So I did from the beginning, and it was very sort of a case of telling yourself. Like, I believed in some of the more crazier shit that Alex Jones would say. Whoa, calm your shits there. That's not how the world works.
It was turning gay.
No, he believes that shit, so you have to go a bit crazier than that. Like, I would believe in shit like the whole sort of Jewish banking conspiracy and going back to, like, the Jews want to wipe us out by having us intermixing with, like, black people.
Oh, man, you believe in race-mixing, spear-mongering?
No, this is why I think that it's a penance of me never to hide how deep of a piece of shit I tried to be. I never believed it, but I shouted it from the rooftops. I never did anything physical, thank fucking Christ. But I'll tell you this now, a few weeks after I decided to leave this group, I stopped showing up. They didn't call me back or anything. One day after the meetup, I just didn't come back. It was only about maybe 10 of us at most I ever met personally. But a few weeks later, I found out that one of them got put in jail because during a pride march, they started hurling bottles at them and calling them fags.
That used to happen quite commonly before people started actually protecting pride marches.
That's good.
I've walked in two now. I'm not gay, but I'm an ally, and it just shows, like,
I haven't walked in one, but I went to the Belfast one 2 years ago. My friend who was straight, I don't know why.
I've heard that.
But he was doing a work experience with Allstate, and for some reason his like division manager thought he was gay. He's just a really, really good looking, like, twinky straight guy.
Metrosexual. This is the age of the metrosexual.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, dude's hair, he spends like half an hour in his hair. They're one of my best friends, but he was in the parade. So I was watching him, but it was so hilarious because about 5 minutes before he comes along carrying the banner, Gok Wan goes past in this giant float. But then at the same time, you're walking past Belfast City Hall, and I swear to God, it's the only time in Belfast you'll see all the different branches of Christianity, as well as the Muslims joining together and having the same opinion.
Meanwhile, when I walked in Dublin for it, there was up there. There's a big church as we walk by, and there's a huge, very buff-looking Christ on a cross that's almost at ground level. So people were just covered it top to bottom in the most campiest.
This is what you want your body to be, baby.
Yeah. This is
Christ,
life goal. Yeah, gay flags everywhere, boas, giant Elton John glasses on them.
I mean,
he looked fabulous.
That's adorable. I love that.
It'd been better if Elton John was playing, like, on his lap. Like, turn it up to where, like, Elton John was playing his piano on Jesus' lap.
Oh, so do you feel like you were engaging in, like, this, the spouting of this racist and, like, homophobic stuff for, like, a sense of belonging, like, for purpose?
Yes, 100%. In many ways, it's kind of like a stereotype because some people just like to, you just dismiss these serious issues. No, for me, I didn't really think these things. Now there was the case of it was post 9/11, and I did genuinely worry about Islam because a lot of what I really like in the West, such as freedoms and like the ability to drink and the ability to be an atheist, is hardcore fundamentalist Muslims aren't exactly cool with. So
Look at Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I've been to the Middle East a few times, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back as an adult. It was a beautiful place, very nice people, a little bit on the dodge, a little bit scary. I went to Tunisia just before the Arab Spring broke out, and it was like a place. It literally was a place state. It was a real giant billboards, like really important like messages in Arabic. I couldn't read, but they looked terrifying. Sorry, I'm also.
Do not decode after dark, or you will lose your hands. Kind of messages.
Yeah.
Police everywhere, and they had these huge. I thought they were like batons, but they just look like pieces of like rebar.
There are definitely a lot of decent criticisms to be levied towards like Islam and stuff like that, but definitely, especially post 9/11, there was a lot of hysteria around
everyone.
It
was
all over the world.
It wasn't. It was like do you know what's the fucking thing we were talking about the other day, Ben? It's a gay panic, but back then it was Muslim. It was literally.
Yeah,
Muslim
it was definitely
panic.
the Muslim panic. That was, and unfortunately, it's led to a lot of like the war decisions made back then. It was really such a shame that like that tragedy had to lead to such an increase in like religious and racial biases.
The second Bush term.
They invaded the wrong fucking country as well. They should have
but everybody was just crazy with racial.
I can explain that. And I got this.
Because like weren't they all Saudis?
Bush,
except for Bin Laden?
George W. Bush, his daddy. You guys know George Sr. Always wanted to get Saddam Hussein, right?
Yeah.
And he was never able to get him. Taffy, I'll let you talk in a minute.
Okay.
And he was never able to get him. So I think that George Jr., he wanted to do what his daddy couldn't. And of course, Saddam was the head of Iraq at the time. So he thought, fuck it. A terrorist organization just attack the U.S. Yeah.
You know the worst thing
I can go kill Saddam.
The worst thing is if you look at it kind of in hindsight, Nightmare, as horribly awful and evil Saddam Hussein is, what came afterwards in all like because he was
even worse
is still going.
He was the guy that kept the whole region, not just Iraq, the whole region kind of okay. Let's not piss off Saddam. Let's not piss off Saddam.
Let's not piss off Iran. Like Iran is now just having free reign to just pump money, and Saudi Arabia is pumping money.
Like
Gaddafi.
If you look at Iran before the 80s, Iran was
he
a
was like
country.
Gaddafi and that sorts.
Yeah, Gaddafi. Like look at
total piece of shit. We do not condone anything he does.
But look at Libya now.
That country together.
But leaving a power vacuum is not an improvement.
No, I mean, after all, look at Afghanistan. Only after the Taliban were kicked out did poppy fields start springing up again.
Yeah.
So
so they got their heroin now. That's good.
Yeah, well done. And they can't even legally export it, so they still get money, or at least the tribal leaders who back the current puppet government do. Like the whole, these post 9/11, every war that's happened has ended up shit, with the possible exception of Tunisia, which is doing a little bit better now than what it was before.
The first time I remember hearing about Tunisia was whenever that fucking terrorist attack happened at the resort.
On the beach. You know what? I was actually on that beach, not when I was there, but I have actually visited that beach, and it was terrifying because a few people were from Ireland, and a year prior, we were joking that maybe after my family, we were joking that maybe after everything kind of calms down a bit, if the tourism industry starts springing up, maybe we'll go back out there again. So that was scary.
It was the same whenever, like for some reason, my dad really wanted to go to France, around the time my mom retired, but it was 2 years ago, and it was just around the end of the terrorist attacks, like because they happened sporadically in France. It would be like massive terrorist attack, 6 months later, massive terrorist attack, 6 months later, small terrorist attack, a year later, small terrorist attack. But literally, they're like, oh no, we're gonna go book a holiday to Paris, and literally the day before they were due to book it, fucking another terrorist attack in Paris, and I was just like, this is why you're not going to France.
Was it running people over with cars and shit?
Well, no, that was France and London. You had the truck of peace and the fucking car of peace, which
of peace. That's ironic.
No, that's what Satan atheists called it, the truck of peace. where he fucking it was the Calais market. The guy fucking drove like a hijacked lorry that he'd loaded to bear. Basically, he'd fucking filled it with heavy shit and just drove it through the market.
Didn't someone try to copy him in like Cologne or something like that, and they fucked up because they slammed into like a ballard or something?
Yeah, they slammed into a ballard, and I think the cops literally dragged him out of the car and shot him.
This shit, as much as Paris is currently on fire and a piece of shit, like whenever
is it on fire again? God damn it!
It's always on fire. It's always on.
This is the one thing.
When I was in Paris, first time I went to Paris, I saw a guy get shot, like right there on the ground. He dropped dead. And the next day, I saw a massive protest, like a massive riot, where the rioters had the police shields. I wonder where they got those motherfuckers from. So I bolted it over to London on the tunnel.
I can't trust the French anymore. They let their most important historical building burn down.
At least, as far as I can tell, it wasn't a terrorist attack. But you see the Twitter comments about it, like, haha, Western society sucks, haha, you deserve this.
And it's like, no, that is the most important, but that the fucking...
Have you not played Civilization game? That thing gives you tons of bonuses.
I swear to God, Notre Dame is like the most beautiful building in all of Europe, and we watched it burn down.
I wouldn't say that, but it's definitely in the top 5.
Listen, it can't be worse than California's fires, all right?
No, California's
there is one thing worse than the California fires. Everyone forgets, like 75% of Australia was on fire.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
When I was traveling across Skyway Bridge there in Chicago, I was talking to this girl on the bus, and this was earlier this year, and we were just talking about any old thing. Like this year's getting crazy, isn't it? We have this outbreak that's sweeping across America and across the world rather, and even Australia is on fire. And she was hearing it a long time. Just no, that ended a week ago, and I was like. I showed her the live feed of helicopters dropping water on it, and it's like, is that still going on? It's like, yeah, it's not stopped.
Everyone forgets it happened twice.
Yeah, it sprang back up, didn't it?
Australia caught fire, and then it stopped. Then California caught fire, then that stopped, and then the Amazon caught fire.
Isn't the Amazon still technically on fire?
I think the Amazon is currently on fire again. But what do you expect? Brazil's fucking president is a literal fascist.
No.
Too bad Corona didn't get him.
That's the one time the dude literally said, "Oh, coronavirus doesn't exist."
And then he got Corona.
And then he got coronavirus. I'm like, come on,
Too bad that couldn't have happened with Trump.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, true.
He's so far right.
Some billionaire bought like 14 million acres of the Amazon just to keep it away from the Brazilian
Bolsonaro.
government.
The one-time capitalism worked.
Yeah, from logging and.
But no, legitimately, Bolsonaro is so right wing that if you pulled off his head, I wouldn't be surprised if you pulled off his mask. It was just Hitler with a fucking breathing tube in.
Yeah.
If you look up
Brazil.
I was going to say, if you look on YouTube, like a couple of years ago, Stephen Fry was going around UK, going around the world, sort of talking to like really homophobic right wing leaders, and he had a video of, and then it's quite scary, up and coming. A politician, so he's known as up becoming a politician back then. It's like 6 years ago.
And now he's the president.
Yeah, and he's having an interview with him. And what's creepy, he's talking to him about LGBT rights, and I think he's softer. Like, he's still using this. He said the same thing, but he's obviously a bit softer. Like most of his right wing idiots, they soften their sort of terminology. But as soon as he's in an office, with fucking woodworks, it all comes out with woodworks. So and then by ends in the video with this really creepy laugh, where Stephen Fry says, "Why do you treat LGBT people like humans? Because they are like you." And he spends like 30 seconds doing this really creepy sort of Mr. Burns, and the Stephen Fry's like, "What the fuck?"
I
remember Stephen Fry almost got fucking charged with blasphemy in the Republic.
I remember that. More people were shocked that he talked back to Gay Byrne. You do not talk back to Gay Byrne while he was still alive.
Gay Byrne should have been. Gay Byrne ran for president that time. It's hard trying to explain living in this country with our political system.
Who is Gay Byrne? I'm in America.
Yeah,
he was the talk show host of the Late Late Show in Ireland for a long time.
And he was also like the most important cultural figure we had for the longest time. He, back in the day, in all fairness, credit where it's due, back in the day, he had a lot of groundbreaking moments. Like back when contraceptives were illegal, he, in front of everyone, showed how to put on a condom with this piece of wood. He just showed like, see, it doesn't affect, because there was a stupid rule going around saying that like, oh, condoms cut off circulation and you die. It was obviously started by the church.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like, that's bullshit. He shows he had gay people on back when it was illegal. I think it was like 1994 when it finally became 100% legal in Ireland.
Was it homosexuality got decriminalized earlier, but it wasn't fully legal to be gay until the 90s.
But I mean, let's put it like this. The George in Dublin has been open since the 80s, and everyone knew, and nobody cared.
No, people are just like, fuck it. Plus, you remember Ireland during the 80s and the 90s had a lot more things to worry about than gay marriage and gay rights.
Yeah.
Half the country was on fire.
I was about to say, I think I got rejected from the George in Dublin. That was the name of the pub I got rejected to. I got Steve the George. I think I was rejected. I turned up, gave my fucking head, and go.
Is this the one you told me about?
Yeah. And I went up to him, and I told him, "I'm gonna go in, man." But anyway, I was too drunk, and he came me, and he said, "Not tonight." And I just came up and said, "Where's the cock?" I finally said, "The cock, let me in." And the woman was like, not tonight, lad. Off you go.
Yeah, the bouncers outside of George can be famously serious. They also are one of the only places that if you were straight, you were more likely not to get served. They'd just be like, if they're close to capacity, they have to prioritize people who are clearly flamboyantly gay. So that's why a lot of other bars. Oh, don't get me wrong though, it was one of the latest bars open. So if it was on a slower day, everyone was allowed in, and you'd find people who next day would be like, oh, look at that faggot over there. Like they wouldn't care because they'd be having a drink. They wanted one last drink before going home. You know,
the only gay bar in Derry burned down in the middle of the year.
Oh Jesus! Where are they going to go to get awkwardly hit on by a bunch of old queens now?
Sandino's. It's a commie bar with pride flags all over the place.
Yeah,
which is hilarious because I hate communists, but I'd sit there drinking and just like, this is the best pub in Derry, so I'm not going anywhere else.
Well, it's like the Kremlin. It's got a giant statue of Lenin outside. So that's for gay bar in Belfast. It's weird. It's called the Kremlin. It's got a giant like portrait of Lenin, an actual statue of Lenin.
Yeah, but no, in Kremlin,
I used to like Pravda in Dublin, but they've changed that now to Grand Social. That's still good though. I highly recommend it if you're.
See, the one time I slept with a gay guy from Dublin, I kind of hit the jackpot that he was 18, a twink, and ginger. So.
Oh well, then you came. You basically went on a sex tourist escapade.
No, I was like, I bumped into him at the bar, started talking to him. Next thing you know, end up in a fucking like cheap ass. Can I walk in and book a hotel for £30? Like a room for £30 hotel. I was just like, I might
have woken up in a few of those.
He was just like, he was like, "Do you have a condom?" I was like, "Yes." And he was like, I was like, "Do you want me to use it?" And he went, "No." I'm like, "You're fine."
Someone likes to gamble with his time.
No. I mean, evidently 18 was his birthday.
No, that's not why. That's not why I said gamble. You said that. Do you have a condom? Do you want to use it? No. Oh yeah, that sounds like a safe time.
Oh god, that guy's gonna get pregnant.
I asked him. No, because the only reason
that's how you do it, right?
One of the reasons, because I asked him if he wanted me to use it, because he asked me if I had a condom. And I was like, "Oh, I had like 4." And I was like, "Do you want me to use it? Like, we can use it if you want me to use it." And he just went, "No." He was a virgin, so he wasn't after I was done with him.
Oh.
I was nice.
No, I was gonna ask, like, did you just use him like a cock sleeve? did he need to go to the dentist? Did he need to be the dentist afterwards? Some of his fillings are a little bit loose.
Jesus.
No, he may have had a minor concussion from almost getting put through the headboard in the wall, but no, I was nice.
Yeah, that's why you always need to position yourself perfectly in the middle of the bed. This works whether you're guy or a girl, and just get yourself nice and positioned, and if need be, you face away from the headboard. That way, there won't be any sort of ow, 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 ow.
I do want to ask. So, how did you end up getting de-radicalized from?
Honestly, I just woke up. A lot of times, people are like, "Oh, did you find Jesus? Did you find love of a good woman? Did you get?" I kind of just looked. I was listening to this guy, right? I told Taffy this part. I think I was in the last meeting I was at. It was kind of like almost like an AA meeting. We were all sitting around. This one guy, I'm going to call him Connor, and he was going on about
his name was Connor.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't even remember. All I remember is that he liked wearing. I think he wore blue. Now looking back. And I'm a Nazi. But he basically just went on and on about these Slavic people who were like the Poles. He was going on about how the Poles were stealing all the jobs around his areas, and he was kind of like, the Nazis should have killed them all off when they had the chance. And then he just immediately went straight off into his tirade about how his wife left him because she says he's too angry. And I was like, okay, this is a weird tonal shift. And I looked around people that like put him back in line. And they were all just nodding. And then I was like, oh my God, we're so desperate for any sort of member. We will take the lowest, saddest motherfuckers in. And what does that make me? So I went to the toilet and looked myself in the mirror, and I was like, oh shit, no, I'm better than this. What am I doing with myself? What the fuck am I doing with myself? So afterwards I went back, I sat down, I just nodded, I didn't say much, and then I left, and I never contacted them again.
So you just realized that you had been suckered in by the desperate of the desperate, and you realized you could do better.
The important question: what did they give you guys to drink?
Why do you always have to fucking interject with the stupidest fucking comments?
Fuck you, Ben. It's because I own
nothing. This was in a community center, believe it or not.
Oh God!
Really? Wait, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's where we met. We met up in the community center. We didn't. I don't think we told them what our meeting was. They could have thought we were like a real Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever. But we just sat down on a bunch of shitty chairs. It was actually the same community center that also had like a GAA and like guitar lessons. A lot of taekwondo would go on there a lot.
Wow.
But
community centers in the north and south. How do you put this? As long as you don't tell them what you're doing and don't figure out what you're doing, you'd be surprised what you get away with. When I was 15,
I've seen a porn being filmed there. Not at that one, but I've seen like a porn, like if you type in like Irish pornography or whatever, you'll see one.
Yeah, where like Cartman is just like has all the gingers held captive.
Yeah, the ginger set is no.
Yeah.
When I was like 15 or 16, a bunch of like I wasn't at it, but I remember hearing about it and then seeing like photos of that night and then hearing about some of the shit that happened. So it was like a local like youth club. But they just told them that they just told them it was like they were just like, oh, it's a bunch of us just using it to hang out for a couple of hours, and because it was a local thing, they charged them money. Just all the gay kids. Like, so I was 16 and I wasn't at it, but I just remember hearing about it through the grapevine like the next day and the following week, because of course it got back to the schools around Noma and everyone heard about it. But it was a bunch of like 14 and 15-year-olds, so a bunch of fucking like fourth years basically who were gay, rented it out, and then they just all went into the bathrooms and wrote each other. And no one knew. The fucking venue found out about it a year later.
And the entire time you were thinking, God damn it, I missed it.
No, I was 16 at this stage. I'd been shagging the same fella for 5 years. I wasn't going anywhere near that.
I said 4.
Oh shit, no, it would have been 4. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I love how you remember it better than I do, because I've told you that story.
Moving on from yet another tirade, though, I will say that I am very glad that you were able to get out of that whole Nazi thing, and it really is sad that like
I went for the record, I went straight from them into a cult for a week.
Oh jeez. Wait, was it the Hare Krishnas?
I guess it's not easy to escape being a sad, lonely, insecure.
Are you sure it wasn't the Hare Krishnas? It's almost always the Hare Krishnas in Dublin.
No, I know where they are. right across the street from the Scientologists, and we used to joke that at night they'd come out and let's do a West Side Story sort of gang off, where they're kind of clicking their fingers. I loved the Harry. Every time I see them walking down in Collins Street, it was just brilliant. They'd just be on the drums, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
But then if you're a woman and you act overly flamboyant, it's bad.
Yeah, but then again, it's a cult, so who the fuck cares?
They have their own island in the north. I don't understand how they got it, but they have their own island.
Yeah.
Hey, if it works well for the monks and Mark Hamill, it can work well for anyone.
Money speaks, though. Money talks.
I will say, I do think it is sad how many like just angry, insecure, like sad, desperate, lonely young men get like wrapped up into all these like radical.
I can't imagine what I'll be like now. Like these days, it's so much more easier with so many more faces.
Yeah,
and
there's so many more isolated internet groups. Way easier for you to get wrapped in.
That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not shocked when I hear like T.J. Kirk was the inspiration for a lot of people going on the right when he himself is quite left.
Yeah.
Because at the time he would have been the perfect sort of gateway drug.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think it's people like Sargon. Sargon is the gateway. I call him baby's first Nazi.
Yeah.
He's the one that will give you all the information to go further down the rabbit hole, and then further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I totally get, like, as having been a big fan of The Amazing Atheist, I totally get how, like, that anti-SJW stuff could have led into more of, like, the hatefulness towards, like, other minorities and race groups and whatnot. But the thing was, and that's why I think there's a big difference between Sargon and TJ, is that TJ was always, at his heart, fairly left-leaning. Maybe struggled with progressiveness. But I remember that, like, as a kid, as a teenager, I would watch, I would listen to him talk about how, like, yeah, we need to raise the minimum wage. And I was like, yeah, no, it's so obvious, you know, we got to do all these, like, left-leaning economic things. And so that sort of stuff was what
meanwhile Sargon doesn't even acknowledge that
exactly.
Climate change is real. I just haven't looked at all the statistics.
I remember that.
That's what I find is the big difference, that TJ was like an edgy leftist type who, like, sort of
he still is an edgy leftist type.
He is an edgy leftist type who used to sort of flirt with the right wing, but Sargon was always at his heart fairly right leaning.
No, in all fairness, he's a classical liberal.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Wasn't there like a Swede that stabbed a bunch of people?
Yeah, and they blamed TJ. Yeah, I was actually thinking of that a few days ago.
There was a guy in fucking New Zealand who shot a bunch of people, and they tried to blame PewDiePie for it.
Well, he mentioned.
I remember. Well, no, he did. Yeah, he's a bit more close.
He did pay them.
Poor PewDiePie, he didn't deserve that.
No,
he could do a better job, like
so much better. But he is. I think he's stupid. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I think he's worried about his image.
He's not stupid. He's just Swedish.
Poods didn't do anything.
Just like his good friend, the Golden One. Because him and Arch Warhammer. Oh no, he's Norwegian. They all get along really well.
Is Six Warhammer still on fucking YouTube?
Sticks Warhammer? Yeah,
Arch Warhammer.
Sticks. I think you mixed him up with the Sticks X and Hammer.
Yeah, Sticks X and Hammer. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Sticks is still on YouTube. Unfortunately, I watched one episode of his and I went like, "Hey, that's a cool jacket." Then he opened his mouth and I'm like, "Nope."
He is like
fuck your jacket.
He's pretty, like, mask off, like, race baiting, racism, stuff like that. Pretty Nazi.
And as Vosh pointed out, what is up with a lot of these right wingers and all this occult shit? You think the occult would be more on the left, but they seem to attract a lot of right wingers as well.
Actually, Nazism came from the occult. Occult thinking.
Oh, of course.
Sun worship, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Occult thinking has always been very much a part of authoritarianism, because authoritarianism works on having the idea of, like, hierarchies and, like, a greater force that is just and governs everything. And a lot of cults are based off of, like, secret knowledge, the high priests, stuff like that.
We're creating the cult of your internet friends.
Yes, join the cult of your internet friends.
Create your nation states. Join the Breakfast Islands. Worship the Empire of Avim.
Fans, haven't done it yet, but if you keep paying me, I might slip it on my ass one day. So join my own.
See, Taffy is perfectly ready to be part of a cult because he already molests people, like, constantly. So he's perfectly ready.
Only vocally, I swear.
Only like once a week, if I feel like it.
I only fully.
Yeah, they
Right.
consented afterwards after put a knife to their throat. Is that okay?
After they got
This is
Stockholm syndrome, once again, Sweden showing its horrible hand yet again.
In Sweden, I didn't give him Stockholm syndrome. Sweden did, not me.
This is a fucking
Sweden did.
train wreck.
See,
It was-
I do think like you were saying, like a lot of the like Sargon, for example, I used to think he, like, back in the day. When I say back in the day, I mean like Sargon's early days. He used to come across.
Back when he'd go on like the Bible Reloaded and shit like that.
Yeah, back when he was the Bible Road, back when he used to do his see, back when he, like, the only reason I came across him is because of the Anita Sarkeesian shit.
Yeah.
Because God, I hate her, but at the same time, God, I hate him, and everything he says except the shit he says about her, I disagree with. Like, he was so pro Brexit, and being an Irishman and someone who lives in the north, I was so anti Brexit.
I honestly, I could understand the rage of Brexit.
About that, didn't he? He and Thunderfoot had a falling out over that.
Yeah,
Thunderfoot
that was the first like,
surprised.
sort of anti-SJW getting split over an issue type deal.
It was hilarious as well, because Thunderfoot and him used to be both what I would call center, but then Thunderfoot went straight to the left post Brexit, and then Sargon very slowly but surely slid to the right.
Yeah,
But he's not right wing because he doesn't agree with left wing social policies, but he's for working class. If you just get rid of all the brown people, working class would be fine. So therefore,
That's what he says. That's pretty much his stance.
Yeah, if you go up to him and go, oh, do you agree with leftist sort of social policy which would benefit working class and the poor? That's liberalism. And he says, but if you get rid of all brown people, that will actually support working class. Like,
And that's Sargon's bloody fucking opinion. See, the problem is as well. The problem is because of the way the politics works in 2020. You kind of, the far left and the far right have kind of taken over the whole discourse. Like, you can't be a centrist anymore, because if you're a centrist and you have some left wing opinions, the far right will call you a commie. But if you have like one even slightly left of far left opinion, or like a center opinion, or even a slightly right wing opinion, like, I don't have any far right opinions. But
I was actually thinking, like, what
I have one slightly right wing opinion, and I think someone called me a neo-Nazi for having it. I'm like, it is nothing to do with Nazism. It is literally nothing to do with politics. It's not even a political opinion. It's a social opinion.
Well, what's the opinion?
Well, also Nazi is.
I think that anyone found guilty of pedophilia should be executed.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not
And
Nazism.
Yeah,
I thought you were.
I thought it was going to be something like, listen, I'm just saying, the Jews, they have a lot of money.
No.
Look,
The only like, Ben, your dad's from Israel.
Yes.
And I think we've already had this conversation. Like, I'm not pro-Palestine, but I'm not pro the state of Israel either. I'm very kind of milquetoast. Like, I'm just like, hey, can maybe the government in Israel stop doing the bad things they're doing, but at the same time, I can't support Palestine because they literally elected Hamas as the government.
Yeah. Palestine has,
and there's all like
issue.
it's when I went to Tel Aviv, I thought it was absolutely beautiful, and at the time I was old enough to like start getting my more right wing stuff out of me. But wandering around, like, I didn't think that, oh no, all these Jewish people around me. I was like, oh no, a terrorist attack would destroy this beautiful cafe.
Yeah,
that's true. Terrorist attacks are rampant there.
A friend of mine, actually, from when I was in like preschool, he got hurt in a terrorist attack when he was going to visit his relatives in Israel. So it's definitely a delicate situation going on there.
Israel, like literally every day in Israel there's something. It'll either be the Israeli police force, which is so militarized that it makes the police force in America look like the fucking PSNI.
Yeah, they're just like a reserve force at this point. So it kind of makes sense too, because their population is small. Yeah,
but like,
so that's why it'll
either be like the Israeli police force shooting a Palestinian kid, or it'll be a Palestinian terrorist attack blowing up a fucking building somewhere in Jerusalem.
I don't think they could stop. I think like a third force would have to go in and just sweep them away. You know.
You see, they tried, but then they tried. But the problem is Israel's military has been like given.
No. I mean, like, something completely different. Like, say China starts trying to take over the world and just invades every country. That's how far we'd have to probably go to actually see all this stuff.
By the way,
they'd use that as like smokescreen to just start going at it even harder.
I'm being facetious and sarcastic here. I'm just saying, just give Russia the Middle East. Just give it to them. We never should have kept it from them in the first place. Just give them the Middle East.
Well, we should give
Except
them the
for
Middle
Saudi
East
Arabia,
and
because
then
Americans don't need the oil.
then
Americans
produce. No, we should give them the Middle East and then immediately announce that we found a unlimited fuel supply, but they can only be discovered in America.
Just fucking lie to
Enjoy
them.
your fossil, enjoy
could
your
you
5
imagine-
minutes left of fossil fuel. You know.
Like, could you imagine low energy if because there's the nuclear fusion plant in Oxford in England. Could you imagine they finally
Sellafield.
they finally achieve perfect nuclear fusion and get limitless energy, and then they're like, hey Russia, you can have all the oil. It's worthless now.
It's worthless.
Well,
You
it's actually the
fucks.
gas, isn't it? It's the gas that they dominate over Europe.
Yeah, they
anytime
own all.
they're
Because
pissed
Russia
off.
has so much. Russia has so much gas, but has
They
no oil.
export it. Yeah.
Oh shit!
But
It
no,
is.
Russia
It
basically
has oil.
owns Ukraine now again. This is the thing we all forgot. We all forgot.
I did not forget. I
Yeah.
seriously
a lot
was
of
pissed
people
off
forgot.
watching that
A lot
shit.
of people forgot this happened. Russia annexed a country, and we all just let it happen.
Half a country.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Crimea Peninsula.
Is it
Yeah,
the
but, like-
same as Georgia? That happened in the 90s. We saw when.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, please
but
don't
Georgia,
do that.
Georgia, they didn't like. But Georgia, like, isn't Georgia ethnically Russian?
No.
No.
They're ethnically Georgian. Like they are 100% Georgian. But like
The only
they
Georgian
What's the country that Khabib is from that's owned by Russia? The UFC fighter. Is it Georgia? Is Georgia not the one that has?
Belarus,
Georgia
isn't
not
it?
the one that recent-
Yeah, Belarus.
Which is
Andre
now
the
currently on
Pitbull
fire right
Orlowski.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they fucking exploded. Was Georgia not the country that like a year ago was starting to secretly round up gay men and put them in concentration camps and no one did anything?
I've not heard anything about that.
No, that was the subcontinent Russia. It's starts with CH. No, it's Chechnya.
Chechnya.
Yeah.
That's another country that Russia just took. We did nothing about it.
No,
Yeah, that went on for a long time. Chechnya.
Didn't the do you remember the fucking Chechens went into a school in Russia and killed everyone?
I know that that happened at the same time as something very personal was happening in my life, and it would always be on the TV as that was unfolding. So it's ingrained in my head. The school. It wasn't a school. It was a theater.
Yeah,
It was a
But it was like
theater,
a bunch of kids. They fucking just went and
Yes.
massacred them, didn't they?
They did. No, what happened was that they attacked them and then they were going to hold the rest hostage. So the military tried to use some sort of gas to knock them out, but it killed more people than it knocked out. And then they burst in and some of the terrorists were still left. The gunfight happened in the auditorium and a lot of people were caught in the crossfire.
So basically, the Russians did the same thing that the Americans did at Waco.
I was about to say Waco, yeah, it kind of.
We'll fire
ended.
tear gas canisters in. Oh shit, we accidentally loaded an incendiary. Oh no, all the kids burned alive.
With Chechnya, I think what it is. With Chechnya, it was part of the Soviet Union, and then it was part of the new Russian Federation. And it was, I think, it sort of became an independent country. Well, technically, but it sort of became an independent country after the fallout.
Yeah, but the Russians were having any of that.
Yeah, so they were like, we're going to create Russian Federation. You go Chechnya, we're friends, you're part of us now. Chechnya went, no. Come on,
And then Russia
Chechnya.
went, yes, bend over, take it, Chechnya.
Chechnya, you're part of us. And then also as well, I think the main reason we sort of got involved, because with Chechens are that area sort of where the Arab or Muslim world meets the sort of Siberian, well, traditionally used to be where...
their Caucasus meets like the Caspian, so a lot of stuff from Iran.
Yeah. So a lot of them are Persian Arabs. A lot of them they've got like a really strong Muslim population. So a lot of
It was Chechnya and their weird fucking dictator prime minister friend of Putin that started rounding up all the gay guys.
Yeah. Because
That's right.
Putin's like, can I round up the gays? Can you like keep the Muslims down? But can I round up the gays? Yeah, go ahead. As long as you don't, start, and as long as the Chechens don't rise up again. Because what was in '91, it was after. Sorry to ramble, but I think it was after the Soviet Union collapsed and sort of the Russian/Soviet army was transferred to Russian Federation. So it was needed reform. And if you look at videos, they got their asses kicked by a bunch of Muslims with AK-47s. Like they said the whole like Russian regiment, and that's why I think Putin's in a blind eye because he's still quite sore.
I remember hearing about this.
Yeah,
They got fucking slaughtered.
Yeah,
It's kind of hilarious. The Russians invented the AK-47, but it's been used against them more than it's been used for them.
And everyone else on the planet, it's the most mass-produced gun in the world, isn't it?
The man who made it hates it.
Yeah.
And he said
It is
that
the,
was the worst thing ever invented in the history of mankind. in his
It
own
is
Kind of like the guy who made the
isn't it
Winchester rifle.
Didn't it recently replace the M1911 as the most used firearm in history?
It did, yes.
Probably,
Because the
I mean,
M1911, if you, like in terms of guns, if you take out if you add sidearms, the most used sidearm in history is the Colt, the original M1911. But then, if you add in rifles and other guns, it's then then it's the AK-47. Then I think it's the Winchester. Then I think it's the Winchester lever action after that, and then it's like all the revolvers from back in the day. So like the Colt Navy and the Colt Peacemaker and oh god. Oh, do you know the worst thing is fuck this low energy vids? I only found this out recently because I was like, one of my friends has a bunch of like replica. Like he's like a replica Henry repeater, I think, and a replica 2 Colt replica pacemakers, but they're single action, right?
okay.
You can
I've got a
buy,
Henry.
in this country, you can buy in Northern Ireland. You can own a replica Colt Dragoon or a replica Colt Navy because they're single action. But if you want to own a Colt, a fucking Colt Schofield revolver, so the one from Red Dead, the iconic Red Dead Redemption revolver, it's illegal because of the fucking Misuse of Firearms Act, which is specifically targeted directly at Northern Ireland.
Well, let's be honest, you did kind of earn it.
Yeah, but it's been 25 years now.
Oh, come on. Every other week you still hear about an RUC guy getting shot by someone who might have been related to the IRA.
But it's the I have a cousin in England, and I remember him telling me about a friend of his that ran a shoot, and like this guy, and I met the friend, and the friend just my cousin's in like his late 40s, but like the friend just had like a fucking not a mare's leg, but like a small, not sawn off, but like a compact version of like a Winchester lever action, and it was chambered in 44 Magnum, and I was just like,
I've got a Marlin 3030 sitting right beside me.
I know, but it's like, oh wait, so you guys in England can have that. The Scottish can't have it because they had one fucking mass shooting in the 80s. Mind you, Dunblane was horrible. In the south, you can own semi-automatic rifles. But in the north, if you have anything, you can't have anything that isn't 9mm, and you can't have any rifles that aren't bolt action.
Just don't throw any car bombs, and you'll be fine.
Hey, I live in the city of. I live in the fucking second most bombed place in Europe currently.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, just stop bombing it.
It's not my fault.
Just bend over. Bend over. But bend over, let him just take it, okay, and shut your mouth.
Well, open it up. Your mouth has other uses.
Because the problem is, right, literally a year and a half ago, I was getting ready to go to London with the Northwest, the regional college in Derry, and a bunch of my friends. And next thing you know, all we hear, we're sitting in one of the computer rooms, shooting the shit, a bunch of drama students, and all we hear is, woo, 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 and they're like, oh, what the fuck's going on? And then all you hear is boom. But then you hear the boom, and then you feel it, like maybe 30 seconds later, and then you look over, and and just across the river, you can just see flames because a car bomb went off. And then, because there was just all of a sudden a bunch of car bombs, and then it disappeared again, and then that poor fucking journalist got murdered. See, the thing is, in Derry, you have CERTA, which claim to be the new IRA, but they're just basically a bunch of fucking losers who didn't get the memo that the war's over.
After the Good Friday Agreement worked out, like the amount of splinter groups that were pissed off, but a lot of them, it's like FARC, a lot of them just want to sell drugs. That's all they want to do. They just want to sell drugs with the IRA logo strapped on society.
The thing is, CERTA are the opposite. They don't want to sell drugs. They just want the war to go on even, and they'll call people like Jerry Adams. They'll call Martin McGuinness, the dude who was the fucking Derry Brigade commander of the actual IRA, and they'll call him a traitor. I'm like, if he hadn't, sat down and signed that paper, a lot of you would have been born because your parents probably would have died during the Troubles.
I agree with that.
Oh, totally. Like, I honestly think that the IRA having a ceasefire was the best course towards them getting what they want.
Yeah,
like which was like a unified Ireland. And let's be honest here, most people in the UK, except maybe these days, maybe not with the whole UKIP rise of English nationalism, but most people in the UK also know that it's only a matter of time before the country's reunified. However, saying that,
it literally
I don't think...
it took
I
a
don't think Dublin.
three-party coalition in the south to keep Sinn Féin out of government recently, so that should show you how close.
Well, the thing about the Sinn Féin government right now, the Sinn Party, is that it's really trying to abandon its whole IRA roots and all that shit. But also, it's actually the only party that's actually doing something good along social lines. Like they're trying to promote like social benefits and better healthcare and better pay.
It's hilarious as well because it's the Greens, Fianna Fáil, and Fine Gael all had to band together to keep Sinn Féin.
I still don't get the Greens like that.
Yeah,
part was
I don't know
surreal.
exactly. But the thing is, if all three of the main parties in Irish politics, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and Sinn Féin, all three of them used to be the IRA at various points. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are both old IRA, and Sinn Féin is Trouble's IRA.
I don't see any of them proudly declaring themselves being a part of the IRB.
Well, that's because if you say anything about Jerry actually being in the IRA, that thing that everyone in the entire world knows was a thing, it wasn't really Jerry. Please don't shoot me. But if you declare that, you disappear.
Yeah, it's kind
Jerry,
of the whole
listen,
like
if
we
you
don't
shoot him, Jerry. If you shoot him, I will hunt you down like a
No. Nightmare,
Jerry's
Nightmare. He'll disappear your entire. He'll disappear your entire state.
I want you to take back that statement. I was never part of the IRA.
But
I
was always a little bit jealous of his teeth. He's always had nice teeth.
Yeah.
Hennessy, Tennessee, Morrison, Shaughnessy, Reardon and Rooney, they'll tell you the same. McNulty, Mulrooney and Cotter and Clooney all feel the same mixture of pride and of shame. Finnegan, Hannigan, Kelly and Flanagan look to the ground with
You don't do the Onision and try to break the laws by crossing borders.
No, but then again, I don't do a lot of Onision things, so I am trying to be good friends with Billy the Fridge right now. Hopefully, I do. Hopefully, I do a lot better.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing that
he
Billy
did well, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing Onision did right was befriending Billy the Fridge.
We once, before we were an actual official podcast, before we were an entity, and we were just kind of a small group of ragtag DP fans, well, former DP fans and some current DP fans. But we were sending super chats to Billy on a live stream he did and got him to say a bunch of shit, and he took a shot of Jack Daniels for every super chat, but I sent him 20 British pounds and he was like, oh fuck, that's like $30, and he like chugged like a quarter of the bottle and was like,
that must have been a while ago. He doesn't really drink anymore, does he?
Yeah, no, it was at the beginning of kind of coronavirus lockdown.
Oh shit!
He was getting drunk in his house one night with Joe.
That's why I didn't watch it. Joe and I don't get along.
it was just one. No, the live stream got deleted too. It was so annoying because he was like, yo, I'm built. Because back then we were tangentially known as the Breakfast Club, because the night we all met, we all stayed up to I stayed up to 7 a.m. here, so it was like 3 or 4 a.m. for them. We kept sending super chats to Billy, and Billy was like shouted out so loudly, "Hey, I'm King Billy, King of the Breakfast Club!" so loudly that Joe told him to shut up.
Hey, if it caused any distress to Joe, I'm okay with.
See, you're an old school DP fan, so you remember Joe's first ever appearance, right?
Yeah, and I remember Scotty's perfect response: "Walk the fuck away." And I've been trying to follow that ever since, and it's made me. Plus, I have a very personal memory of Joe, where him and I had a very brief and very poignant conversation that I will not get into. But all I'm going to say is it was the worst first impression you could possibly have, and all he's ever done is double down on it ever since. So, if I ever meet Joe, I'm actually not going to even have an argument with him. I'm just going to walk away.
He seems like he's an asshole for the sake of being an asshole.
He is. He's self-destructive too, and he just destroy. I mean, Billy once snapped him and saying, "You destroy everything I do."
As a very old school DP fan, I stopped watching before Joe came on, so the only thing that I really knew about him was that I think he got into an argument with Pit Monk or something, and he insulted his dead dad or something.
He said it was,
that was on the first roll.
Yeah, no, that's one the first time I heard of him, and he kind of struck me as he struck me as a very unempathetic asshole.
No, he is. There's decades of Joe being a cunt. There's the famous footage of him attacking a woman just at a random meetup.
There's also a video of him getting his ass kicked by a amateur boxer.
Yeah, I know, but that was too staged. Instead, I confronted Jeff Holiday on this. I was like, dude, that time where he's trying to start a race war with that bunch of Latinos by calling them all a bunch of like beaners and spics in like the middle of a crowd, and they started coming at him. You guys all defended him. Why didn't you let his ass get fucking beaten to the curb? And he's like, oh, well, you just don't know Joe like I do. I'm like,
Wasn't that an episode?
I don't want to know.
Wasn't that an
Jeff
episode?
Holiday, I love Jeff.
Wait, hold
but
on.
Jeff,
Wasn't that an episode of Always Sunny where like Dee gets like high on adrenaline and then she goes into like a poor neighborhood and starts insulting all the fucking Latinos?
I did not see that, but that sounds
that's a recent episode. That's funny. Yeah.
I absolutely love Jeff Holiday, but Jeff always see, I don't understand he won't disavow Joe because of that actually like racist behavior and being a piece of shit, but he disavowed something that he literally helped create because like
Pepe.
Because Kekistan used to be a fun meme, then it got taken over by the right wing.
Technically, Pepe was created by the Boy Scouts of America.
Well, yeah,
and the guy that made it said he killed him off. So you can't.
As if that would stop.
I mean, not just Pepe the
How naive? How naive?
I am glad that I am glad that more left-wing groups or like people are trying to take back Pepe because I like Pepe. I wish he could become.
Well, I never had Pepe to take back to begin with.
A centrist thing, and then there was like one right-wing person who was involved. Well, but mind you, the person, one of the people who founded Kekistan as well, that was on the Skype call where Kekistan
Sargon was in there too.
Yeah,
if I'm not
with Sargon
Yeah,
of Akkad. No, Sargon of Akkad back when that happened wasn't right-wing, but he's definitely right-wing now.
Yeah.
Well, at least you said that much because I was already about to go, oh, come on.
No. I used to be a Sargon fan, but ever since like before
he lost his fucking mind even more.
Like, he just very slowly slid to the fucking middle right, and it's like Jesus.
Didn't he tank UKIP, if I'm not mistaken?
He didn't tank UKIP.
No,
UKIP
but he's a good sign of why UKIP fell apart.
Pretty much UKIP became Nigel Farage's sort of personal cult party. So as soon as he left the party,
he's obsessed with Trump. And Trump and Shoe on Head. He's trying to get Shoe on Head back.
Yeah, he's been simping hard. He created a secondary account of his to like a second account so he could like constantly be saying to like Shoe like, oh, we used to be such good friends. Oh,
I thought you're so beautiful. Was like centrist though.
She was becoming pretty left wing. Armored Skeptic is pretty much where he's
gone insane. He's going insane now with these weird conspiracy theories and these occult shit.
Why did you see? There's the problem. All the centrist people I used to like. The only one who like people. Okay, the only centrist that I know that's still a centrist is a centrist who panders to the kind of mid right, and that's Count Dankula, who is kind of a centrist, but is also but he panders. That's his problem. He panders to the to like a kind of.
I don't want enough stuff to.
He joined the Scottish He joined the Scottish Libertarian Party, so I would call him right wing. He's a legit member.
Oh shit! He's a libertarian.
Yeah, he's part of the Scottish Libertarians. I think I don't want to quote on it, but I think he's sort of not missing away. But I think he's trying to get into the membership. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's a small thing. A lot of these, I think we talked before the other night, like these weird fringe groups. A lot of it's this class of personality because they're not big enough to have like official structure. Like, was it the day you were talking about? Was it like in the middle of the night you saw some weird sort of anti-culture group saying they're going to shoot other culture? What was? Are you pretty drunk at that time?
Yes, I was pretty drunk, but that's helped me unlock the deep-seated memory of it. It was on RTE, and it was like this sort of it was like 4:00 in the morning. It was just before. I'll show you. It was so weird. This was before Euro News came on really late at night. So this was a good few years ago, and it was this sort of manifesto / pseudo documentary on these like 40-something morbidly obese fat dudes in balaclavas finding culchies in Dublin, taking them out to a field and shooting them to keep Dublin pure.
What?
And then try to build like a wall like in Berlin, and they're like, there are thousands of us, and they have like these fake voices on. There are thousands of us, and you don't know it yet. We're everywhere. We're driving your buses. We're building the Lewis, and we don't want these muck savages in our homes. And
I'm sorry. Like, the only thing pure you can find in Dublin is the ketamine and the cocaine.
Oh, you fucking kidding me? I've seen too many of them dead because of that. around Abbey Street, you're going to see plenty
There's
of
nothing pure in the Irish genealogy anymore. We literally had the ginger
Irish,
gene.
forgetting about something. I'm a police officer. I see ODs all the time.
But the ginger, you have to remember, there's nothing pure about any Irish person. The ginger gene was literally raped into our bloodline for the Vikings.
Yeah, like and you go up to Iceland, you're like, "Ha, you're not pure Nordic either," and they just laugh it off and go, "No, we know, but we got the best of it, didn't we?" As you're staring up at them with their golden flow
ginger
locks.
unattractive. We got ginger and warlike.
They just look you dead in the eyes, like, "We won, bitch."
Yeah,
they did.
Then they did, and I still haven't gone to Dublin yet, but I'm old enough to remember when they uncovered it.
Do you know the funniest thing is? I remember, if you remember, it's pretty big now on Facebook, but it's kind of not defunct, but it's kind of milquetoast. Do you remember the Ireland Simpsons fan page?
I remember all the quotes of the Simpsons. Oh well, yeah. Actually, you know, I know someone who might get the share the shit off it. Yeah.
But you remember the famous Simpsons scene where it's the music teacher getting attacked by the one snake and by like going, "Ew, a snake," but then gets jumped on by like thousands of snakes.
Yeah.
Right. There's a meme that once got shared on that. It was like it was a snake, but it was like, "Ew, a Viking." And it was just them fucking with a Viking, but then a million snakes with Union Jacks came instead. And that's pretty much like that sums up Irish history. It's like, Vikings, that's not oh god, the Brits. That summed up early Irish history.
Yeah, Irish history, no matter how much we try to, the Battle of Clontarf, the way they played up is sort of like, oh, it's Ireland versus Vikings. Look at that history. It was a bunch of Irish and a bunch of Vikings fighting a bunch of Irish and a bunch of Vikings.
Yeah. It was the equivalent of the fighting Vikings, where it was fucking one of Ragnar Lothbrok's sons and...
oh, you mean knock off Game of Thrones? Yeah, I didn't watch that.
But no, it was basically that. It was him and then the king of like Sweden or something against the king of Sweden's brother and one of Ragnar Lothbrok's other sons. And she's like, you're the same people.
Whether on the scaffold high or the battlefield we die, oh, what matter when for Erin dear we fall.
It was really nice having you on.
Come on.
It's really nice having you on, Sleepy Time Man. It was really brave of you to tell us your story about being an ex-fascist. Thank you for sharing. It was very interesting.
I kind of tell that story to anyone who listens. This isn't new.
Okay, well,
like you want to talk about some crazy shit I did in Toronto? That shit would be brave for me to talk about.
All right. But, well, maybe next time we have you on.
We'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
So
want to come back on.
Say your goodbyes, and I'll give him an Irish goodbye.
Go for it.
Oh, cool. So I've got a YouTube channel, Low Energy Videos, because I'm very lazy with the branding. Just a game. I have a podcast on Friday with Krendar. Krendar's Adventures.
I saw you guys had what's her fucking name?
We had girl that does rant on. We tried to get her last night, and her computer more or less caught fire. So
we had Cren on here too. So we had Cren.
But we got Pitmonk on next Friday, and if not, Missy Ann will fill in.
Right.
So
well, I might be on. I might be on when he's free, because I'm such a slut. I'm everywhere.
Well, your internet friends, be sure to check that out, and we'll see you guys later.
Okay, Low Energy. May the road rise to meet you.